onto it, and he drags it through the dirt, and he sleeps with it, and it's always with him, and he won't let it go. Kind of that way.
It's all right.
My security blanket was weaved with guilt and shame and anxiety and remorse. And I also wouldn't let it go. I held on to it in that same way. Unlike the blanket, the child's security blanket, though, mine became heavy over time. But I want to talk a little bit more about what I used it for and what purpose it served in my life. I mean, I felt the need to have it with me at all times as well. I refused to go to bed without it. I went everywhere. It went everywhere with me. I wrapped it around my waist when I needed to use my hands to work. I held it up in between myself and others, and it prevented me from having healthy relationships with other people. It was a barrier. It was also a barrier between me and God. But God was always there. He's always been there. He, just like that parent who watches over you, that parent who looks at the child, who lets them have the security blanket, who lets the child have the security blanket, knowing and hoping that that child will one day outgrow the need for that security blanket. And I did. When I did, I eventually became in need of rest and nourishment. And just like that parent offers that child who has run around all day with the security blanket, and now they're getting tired, and you can tell they're getting tired, but they're still holding on to that security blanket. And the parent, usually the mom, just so you know, but in this case, my parent is my Father in heaven. But my Father in heaven is a mom and a dad. So I'll use the word parent. Just like that parent offers that bottle and knows the child needs rest, he offered me rest and nourishment continually. Always his arms outstretched. And I wanted that rest and that nourishment, but I wasn't quite ready for a while to give up my blankie. Eventually, my desire for the blanket, for the nourishment, grew so much that I reached out for it. But at first, only with one hand, because I wasn't sure I could trust him yet. I wasn't sure that the blankie that he had, he promised me rest and nourishment. And he also offered me this brand new blanket, woven with love, joy, peace, you know the rest. Right? I still reached out with that one hand and held on to my old familiar blanket. Despite the fact that it was filthy and dirty, I wasn't sure if the one we had was really gonna be better. Needless to say, I eventually relinquished my blankie, and I took hold of the blanket that my Father had for me. And I have to end by quoting something that I've been listening to. I started to be more receptive to his word. I started to be more receptive to things that I hear from people who are inspired by him to speak. And I'm still on that path. But I do want to quote something that's from a favorite worship song of mine. I've got my liberty, finally free. I will never be bound again. Thank you.